Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X, __ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you download your apps. And, of course, 14:30 a.m. if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. Thank you for tuning in. Colts lose yesterday. Indiana narrowly escapes Iowa. Elijah Surratt making a big play at the end of that game. But we have to start with the Indianapolis Colts. Everyone is pointing the finger at A.D. Mitchell. Oh, A.D. Mitchell fumbled the football through the back of the end zone. If he hadn't done that, then he would have scored. And the Colts only lost by 7. So, that's why they lost. And that logic is just flawed. Because if the Colts score there, then the Rams obviously run very different offense down the stretch. What the Colts do defensively and offensively changes. That one play, there were 150 plays yesterday. That one play obviously had an impact on the outcome of the game, but it's not the sole reason why the Colts lost. The defense yesterday wasn't great. Kyren Williams averaged 6 yards a carry. Puka Nacua had 170 receiving yards. They gave up 27 points. I'm sorry, but that's not very good. That's part of why the Indianapolis Colts lost. They committed 11 penalties. They turned the football over 3 times. I mean, seriously, you have to be better than that in all phases. Okay? Let's start with the defense, okay? There's 4 reasons why the Colts lost yesterday. One of them is the defense surrendering 27 points. And to be fair, there were moments where the defense shined yesterday. I thought the pass rush looked the best that it has all season. Laiatu Latu, thank you for finally looking like a guy who deserved to be the first defensive player taken in the draft. 2 quarterback hits, 9 pressures, 1 sack. Can't do much better than that if you're Laiatu Latu. My issue with the defense was they missed opportunities yesterday. Zaire Franklin dropped an interception on the Rams' first drive. Lou Anarumo dials it up. They bring a little pressure. They drop Zaire Franklin. And Matthew Stafford throws it to him. And he dropped it. That cannot happen. Right? He has to make that play. Trevarius Ward plays excellent coverage on Devontae Adams. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. We haven't seen a Colts corner do that in quite some time. I mean, he is with him step for step, right on his hip. Matthew Stafford underthrows the football. Trevarius Ward turns around, and the ball hits him in his hands, like right here. If you're watching on YouTube, right here, and he drops it. Those 2 plays have to be made. This defense is an opportunistic one. In order for the Colts to win, that's what it has to be. When the opportunity arises for them to force a fumble, grab an interception, they have to do it. Because down to down, they aren't very good. The run defense yesterday, not very good. Okay, now it's going to look better because Matthew Stafford had 4 carries for 4 yards. But Kyren Williams, 13 carries for 77 yards. That's a tick under 6 yards per carry. Blake Corum, not as successful as Kyren Williams, 9 carries for 21 yards. But, I mean, still, the run defense has to be better than what it was yesterday. 98 yards between Kyren Williams and Blake Corum yesterday on, 22 carries. That's 4.5 yards a pop. The run defense has to be better than that. Xavien Howard, don't worry. I will lead the charge in the Xavien Howard should be cut thing, because that's going on right now. But like Puka Nacua, 13 receptions for 170 yards. Sheesh. But either way, Javarius Ward and Zaire Franklin have to at least one of them has to make a play and intercept the pass that was thrown to them. The 2-minute defense from the Colts to close the second half was almost as bad as having 10 men on the field on the Tutu Atwell 88-yard receiving touchdown. There was zero resistance from the defense on that 2-minute drive from the Rams. There was no pass rush. Xavien Howard continued to get picked on. I don't understand how you can be that bad defensively when you know that the other team is throwing the football. Like you know exactly what's coming. And it just didn't matter. And part of that is the greatness of Matthew Stafford. Part of that is Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams are absolute problems, as the kids say nowadays. But like the 2-minute drill defense has to be better from the Colts. Like that's just the very simple reality of it. Adonai Mitchell, his fumble and his hold obviously had an impact on the game. Okay. He clearly lacks maturity. Like, I don't know why he switched hands with the ball when there was no one within 5 yards of him. I don't know why he reached the ball out. Someone said that it didn't look like he was celebrating. I don't know. One way or the other, it was incredibly dumb. It is the most A.D. Mitchell play ever. The first 74 yards of that play were awesome. He makes a one-handed contested catch, gets the guy off of him, the corner, takes like 4 steps. The corner, has a hold of him, and he spins out of the tackle. And then he runs away from everybody with his 4.2 speed. And then the final 3 feet, the easiest part of the play, he does that. And he loses the football, and it immediately based off of his reaction. And it's things like that keep him out of the lineup. Like, you can see why they want to get him the football. I mean, it's clear as day. Like, the play he made leading up to the fumble was absurd. One of the best plays that we will see from the Colts all season. One-handed catch, defender draped all over him, breaks a tackle, and then runs away from everyone. There is a short list of players in the NFL who can make that play. And he finishes it off by costing the Colts 6 points. It's just frustrating. It just is. Do you know what's better than learning from your own mistakes? Because that's a really important part of life. Whenever you mess up, you're supposed to learn from it and then not make that mistake again. That's not just a football thing. That's a work thing and a life thing and all that kind of stuff. But do you know what's better than learning from your own mistakes? Learning from someone else's. That's just the reality of it. I have an older brother. And you know what was great for me growing up? Being able to sit back, watch him do things, and be like, oh, Mom and Dad didn't like it that he just did that. So perhaps I should never do that. It was great. It was a real advantage for me. And A.D. Mitchell clearly didn't learn from the mistake that Jonathan Taylor made last year against the Denver Broncos. Okay? It's just so frustrating. Because once again, A.D. Mitchell is clearly super talented. Clearly. I mean, the talent oozes out of that dude. That's just the very simple reality of it. But then he, does things like drop the football. So those are 2 of the 4 reasons why the Colts lost. Reason number 3, Xavien Howard can't cover me. I legitimately think that. I think that if you got me out there, give me like a month to get into like route running shape. I think I could create enough separation for Daniel Jones to throw me the football. So if Xavien Howard can't cover me, he definitely can't cover one of the 5 best receivers in football, Puka Nacua. Again, 13 receptions for 170 yards and 1 touchdown. Every reception, although it didn't, every reception felt like it came against Xavien Howard. The Colts have to put someone else out there. I don't care if you cut Xavien Howard or not, but he cannot be your starting cornerback against the Las Vegas Raiders. That cannot happen. Put, Mekhi Blackman out there, who I know people are mad at right now because his feet got tangled with Tutu Atwell and he fell. Maybe if the 10th player for the Colts had been on the field, the 11th player had been on the field, then maybe that play doesn't happen. Put Mike Hilton out there, who played. I was really surprised at how well he played, honestly. Okay, Jalen Jones, when he comes off IR, he has got to be the starting corner. I get it. He's not super fast. Maybe he's not a great scheme fit for what Lou Anarumo wants to do. I do not care. He can't be any worse than what Xavien Howard has been these last 3 weeks. Seriously, there's got to be some part of the Colts that wishes that they held on to Juju Brents, right? I mean, seriously. Former second-round pick. He's got some talent. I get it. The dude's been hurt. But you want to sit here and tell me that he's not better than Xavien Howard? If he's not better than Xavien Howard, then he's going to be out of the league soon. Simple as that. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And people are going to want to blame Lou Anarumo. I thought Lou Anarumo, given the lack of talent on this defense, because there is a major lack of talent on this defense. Once again, 32, 33-year-old Xavien Howard, who didn't even play football last year, is one of your starting corners. You got to pick your poison, I guess. Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua. Who would you rather, who would you rather beat you? It didn't really matter. I get it. I don't think it would have mattered. If they'd switched Xavien Howard and put him on Devontae Adams and they'd put, Javarius Ward onto Puka. I don't think it would have mattered because one way or the other, the Rams were going to hunt and pick on Xavien Howard, whether he was defending Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams. Okay. Xavien Howard just isn't very good at football, and Jalen Jones cannot get off IR soon enough. Okay. Jeez, I got to take a breath. I still can't believe the way that they lost that game. The Colts just simply made too many mistakes. AD's fumble and his hold are pulling a lot of the attention away from Daniel Jones, who I'm not going to say he was bad yesterday because I think that would be an incorrect analysis. Okay. But he did throw 2 interceptions. And both of them were rather ugly. The first one, he just underthrows it, and he leaves it behind A.D. Mitchell, who was wide open, by the way. He underthrows it, leaves it behind A.D. Mitchell, Cameron Curl, Woo Pig. He comes in, picks it off. There's the first interception, okay, on the Colts' opening drive. And then you have an opportunity to do something that this Colts team never does. Make the play. Respond after getting absolutely, Mike Tyson punched in your gut after the Tutu Atwell 88-yard touchdown. You have an opportunity to respond. And what does Daniel Jones do? What does he do? He throws one into double coverage to Michael Pittman Jr., who's a really good wide receiver, by the way, when the Colts had a chance to move the ball down the field and tie the game. And, there's, certain people would say, fourth quarter, you need some chunk plays because, because you have to go 70 yards. Okay. while that's true, you do have to go 70 yards. The Colts had all 3 timeouts, and there was a minute left in the game when he threw that pick. The Colts were not at a point of utter desperation yet. There was a minute left, and they had 3 timeouts. Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen, because Shane Steichen's the one who called the play, they got too aggressive too quickly. And the reality of the Colts' loss yesterday is it's not on one guy. It's on all of the mistakes that were made. Okay, your wide receiver drops the football while walking into the end zone. You commit 11 penalties for 88 yards, just way too many mistakes. Your quarterback throws 2 interceptions. And when you have all of those things, plus the fact that Zaire Franklin and Charvarius Ward both dropped interceptions, you get a narrow loss on the road against a team that you feel like you should have beaten. Victory favors the team that makes the fewest amount of mistakes. That's why the Colts started 3-0. They won the turnover battle against the Broncos. They won the turnover battle against the Dolphins. They won the turnover battle against the Titans. And they didn't commit 11 penalties in any of those games. They played mistake-free football those first 3 weeks. And yesterday, they didn't. And while I do think that the Colts have a good roster, while I do think that the Colts are a good football team, they are not good enough to turn the football over 3 times, drop 2 interceptions, commit 11 penalties, and beat a team as good as the Rams who have legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. They are not that good, although they are good enough to beat teams like the Rams. Okay, so just too many mistakes. And the penalties are something that really bothers me. And I know that they bother Shane Steichen as well. Here he is after the game talking about the 11 penalties.
I mean, penalties, it really comes down to fundamental and technique in the penalties. And it's been in the red zone, last couple of weeks. And we got to clean that up because that's huge. I mean, there was probably a couple where we could have scored 34, with touchdowns. I got to go back and look at Warren's play there where he caught it down to the 3. Look at that one. And obviously the big run, JT, to take the lead there. So got to get those cleaned up.
As he said there, Shane Steichen talking about the penalties. If you don't have them, especially the ones in the red zone, which has been an issue all year, by the way, if you don't have the penalties in the red zone, then maybe you score 34. Seriously. And instead of 20. And then because this is how people's minds work, then you win the game 34-27, which isn't how that works at all because when teams score, your plan obviously changes and all that kind of stuff. Penalties, turnovers, not winning when you do those 2 things. You're also not winning when your best player only touches the football 6 times in a half. Jonathan Taylor didn't get enough touches yet yesterday. More on that in 4 minutes.
dockets at noon. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, this is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM if you're in the Indianapolis area. Yeah. And if you want more from me, go check out the My Take Is YouTube page as well. Got a bunch of stuff on all the other NFL and college football stuff going on. Jonathan Taylor yesterday did not get enough touches. 6 touches in the first half, 7 if you count a play that got called back for a penalty. That's not enough for the best player on your team. And I understand that Shane Steichen believes in this philosophy that I think a lot of other NFL coaches believe in. You throw to get ahead, and then you run the football to win. The NFL's a passing league and all that kind of stuff, you know. But Jonathan Taylor's your best player. It's like the mid-range jump shot in the NFL. Or excuse me, in the NBA. The NBA is a three-point shooting and layups league. But if you have Kevin Durant on your team, then your team should shoot more mid-range jumpers, even if your philosophy is to get threes and layups. And that should be the case because you have Kevin Durant. Running the football should be the same thing for the Colts. Yes, it's a passing league. Yes, Shane Steichen has his philosophies. But you make an exception to your philosophies when you have a running back like Jonathan Taylor. Okay? 6 touches in the first half is just unacceptable. And I get it. Like, the Colts had some woes running the football, like 17 carries for 4.5 yards. They really struggled to run it in that first half. They would have gone over 100 yards if, the AD Mitchell Holding hadn't called back his biggest play, their longest run of the day. The Colts are going to be at their best when they're running the football more than they throw it. Okay? Daniel Jones, as good as he's been to start the year, he's a bus rider. He's not driving the bus. Jonathan Taylor and the offensive line, they're driving the bus. Okay? When you ask Daniel Jones to be the guy who leads the way, like, you're going to struggle a little bit more. Jonathan Taylor didn't get enough carries yesterday. Okay? And in the second half, to Shane Steichen's credit, they were much better at getting him the football. 16 touches between receptions and carries in the second half. After not scoring in the third quarter, the Colts scored on their first possession in the fourth quarter. And it was proof of why you give Jonathan Taylor the football when things aren't working. They ran him 3 straight times. He picked up 20 yards, and all of a sudden, the offensive rhythm was back. The Rams were on their heels. They scored like 6 plays later. The ball didn't touch the ground again. Daniel Jones completed his next 5 passing attempts, including a touchdown pass to Michael Pittman Jr. Okay, running the football successfully for the Colts is their reset button. Everybody has one. Like, I remember when I played baseball, I called it my focal point. I had a focal point in every stadium. If I ever got flustered, like if I was ever in the box and the umpire called, a strike that was a foot off the plate, and it would bother me, I would step out of the box, I would look at the top of the left field foul pole, and I would take a deep breath. It was just a way to reset myself. And the Colts offense was clearly flustered in that third quarter. AD Mitchell drops the football. Bernard Raymond's getting his face ran through by whoever he was trying to block. Colts just committed $100 million to that guy, by the way. Whenever the Colts offense is flustered, Jonathan Taylor has to be the answer to reset the offense. That's what he is. He's the, all right, slow down, guys. Take a deep breath. We're fine. We're going to give our best player the football 4 times in a row here. We're going to pick up, 25 yards. And then we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming of letting Daniel Jones throw the football to all the weapons that the Colts have. And they just got to that reset button a little bit too late in the game yesterday. He should have been a bigger part of the offense in the first half, and he wasn't. Another thing that is being missed because of what A.D. Mitchell did yesterday, and I'm telling you right now, A.D. Mitchell should absolutely not be cut. If you were calling for Adonai Mitchell to be cut today, you're just upset that the Colts lost. That's the reality of it. Here is Shane Steichen answering a million questions on the A.D. Mitchell mistakes, both the dropped, fumbling the football through the back of the end zone and the hold that called back a big Jonathan Taylor run.
What do you think of the play with A.D. Mitchell, and I guess what did he tell you? How do you explain that turnover?
Yeah, it's hard to explain in that situation, but we got a lot of faith in A.D., and this is a bump in the road for him, and he's going to bounce back. And we got a lot of confidence in his abilities.
After JT made the mistake last year, is this something that you emphasized?
Yeah, it's a point of emphasis, and I got to do a better job of emphasizing it more. It starts with me.
You also had the holding call on JT's run was really costly too. I mean, just what did you see there?
Yeah, I didn't see the penalty, but they called it. We'll go back and look at it. And again, all those things start with me.
Through his first 2 years, AD's had some ups and downs. I guess how do you help him through this, because this is tough?
Yeah, it's all part of his process and his journey. Everyone's journey is different. He's got a lot of ability in his body, and so we got to get through it this week and get ready to go for Vegas next week.
Shane Steichen right there talking about the 2 big mistakes that A.D. Mitchell made. And once again, Adonai Mitchell should not be cut. I think it's absurd to even – actually, nah, let me walk that back. I think it's absurd to think that. If the thought crosses your mind, okay, but you should very quickly dismiss it because he's not the reason that they lost the game. You say he's one of the reasons, then sure, but he's not the sole reason. Again, 3 turnovers, 2 Daniel Jones interceptions, not getting Jonathan Taylor the football enough, 2 dropped interceptions from Zaire Franklin and Travarius Ward. There are multiple reasons why the Colts lost that game, and I do think that Daniel Jones said it the best afterwards. Here he is talking about A.D. Mitchell's mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think first, he made a heck of a catch on that play to get to the ball there. Incredible catch. Yeah, I mean, tough play for sure. After such a tremendous effort and just lost the ball there at the end, but feel for him. I know he hurts with that, but he'll bounce back and he's a hardworking guy. He's in there every day grinding. So we all have a lot of faith in AD and I'll continue to have a ton of faith in AD and one play doesn't define any ball game. We didn't do enough today to win the game.
As Daniel Jones said right there, one play doesn't define any ball game. I would argue that every snap that Xavien Howard was on the field was more detrimental to the Colts' hopes of winning that football game than that one play from A.D. Mitchell. He should not be cut. He is a second-year player. To his credit, he's clearly gotten better from last year. So much better. His first reception yesterday, he dove full extension toward a defender who could have taken his head off. And he dove and he made a catch. As Daniel Jones highlighted right there, the second catch was insane. Fighting through a defender, one-handed grab, and then he takes off and leaves everyone behind him. And then he comes back later. He had a third reception as well on like a not super accurate ball, a little low where he goes down and he makes the play. He's gotten better. And I appreciate that about him. But you can't make that mistake. And I am not at all excusing it. But here's, I think, something that is important. Okay? This mistake is not one that he can lie to himself about. Last year, he throws the pick six to Nick Bonito. And look, people partially excused that, right? Because Shane Steichen's the one who called the play. Didn't like what A.D. Mitchell said after the game. I did my job, all that kind of stuff. Like, you can lie to yourself on that play and say Shane Steichen shouldn't have made that call. You cannot lie to yourself about dropping the football like that. You can't do it. And he's going to grow from that play. I guarantee you, he's not going to do that again. Okay? Because that's got to be the worst feeling in the world. And you could tell how torn up he was after it. Okay? Alec Pierce has to be extended, though. He absolutely has to be extended after that game yesterday. It all but confirmed it. I didn't think that the Colts missed Alec Pierce in terms of what he brings. Daniel Jones was still 24 of 33. The 2 interceptions that Daniel Jones threw, I don't think that they would have been fixed by targeting Alec Pierce instead of Michael Pittman Jr. and A.D. Mitchell. The difference is Alec Pierce wouldn't have dropped the football before crossing the goal line. To be fair, he also probably wouldn't have spun out of a tackle and had a chance to score on that play. Adonai Mitchell is too talented to be cut, but he continues to prove that he hasn't grown up yet. And they should extend Alec Pierce because he clearly has. I would also like to bring up Quentin Johnston of the Los Angeles Chargers, first-round pick, 22nd overall, 3 years ago. Okay? And his first 2 seasons in the NFL, Quentin Johnston literally could not catch the football. Drop City. I mean, he dropped everything. I've got a 2-year-old nephew whose hand-eye coordination has not developed yet. You throw him anything, it's hitting the ground. Guarantee you. That's what it was like throwing Quentin Johnston the football for the Chargers for his first 2 years in the NFL. Now he's in year 3, and he's on pace for 90 receptions and 17 touchdowns. Players grow up. Players get better. You do not cut a player as talented as Adonai Mitchell this early in their career. If the Colts cut A.D. Mitchell, he would be picked up as the moment he cleared waivers. The moment it happened, someone like the Carolina Panthers would be like, we need to get Bryce Young all the help we can. A.D. Mitchell, you run a 4-3 or 4-2, whatever it is. Okay? He's got good hands. He runs good routes. He made an incredible contested catch. One play doesn't define a guy, and it absolutely should not define A.D. Mitchell this early in his career. Simple as that. Now, Xavien Howard, completely different. He should be cut because he's been around just a little bit longer than A.D. Mitchell has. We'll go over his horrific day in 4 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app that you can download wherever you find your apps. The Colts drop a tough one yesterday. Everyone wants to blame A.D. Mitchell. Oh, A.D. Mitchell dropped the football. A.D. Mitchell had a hold. But there were many other issues with the Indianapolis Colts yesterday other than Adonai Mitchell's mistakes. The biggest one, I would argue, was not A.D. Mitchell. Their biggest issue yesterday was pretty clearly Xavien Howard. When you give up 13 receptions for 170 yards to a wide receiver, you're probably going to lose, especially when you also turn the football over 3 times and commit 11 penalties for 88 yards. I do not think A.D. Mitchell should be cut. I do, however, think Xavien Howard should be cut. The difference between the two is A.D. Mitchell is still a very young player in year 2. Xavien Howard, been around a while. Okay? Xavien Howard is not super talented anymore. He comes out week 1 and playing his former team, the Miami Dolphins, and he played just a perfect game. I mean, seriously, like what a game from Xavien Howard week 1 against the Miami Dolphins. Like, Tua didn't even throw the football his way. That's how good he was week 1. Since that game against the Miami Dolphins, though, he has been terrible. Like, calling him a liability doesn't even do it justice. Okay? Like, he's just been such a problem. And this Colts secondary is good. Cam Bynum, good player. Xavien Howard, best player on the defense. Nick Cross has been really good this year. Led the Colts in tackles once again yesterday. But you've got Xavien Howard, who might as well wear a jersey that says, "Throw it my way." Seriously. I mean, the Rams picked on him every time he was on the field. Okay, yesterday was by far his worst showing of the year, and it makes sense because the Rams have really good receivers, whether it's Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua. These numbers don't feel correct, but this is what PFF has on Xavien Howard's coverage against the Rams. 7 receptions on 9 targets. Feels like he was targeted way more than 9 times. So that's a 78% completion percentage. He gave up 112 receiving yards, a touchdown, and Matthew Stafford had a near-perfect passer rating when throwing the football his way, 155.6. The Rams went at him every chance they got. And we knew this was going to happen. Like this is the frustrating thing about sports sometimes. Everyone that had watched this Colts team play the first 3 games of the year understood how big of a liability Xavien Howard is. And the Colts have done nothing. And I get it. It's the middle of the season. Like you're probably not going to go sign a starting corner right now when the year's already started. But certainly you can go find somebody who's better than that. I mean, seriously, you traded a 6th-round pick for Mekhi Blackman. And I get it. He's a little undersized, and they view him more as a slot. I do not care. Put that dude out on the edge in place of Xavien Howard. You just signed Mike Hilton. And the reason why they signed Mike Hilton was to replace Kenny Moore. When Kenny Moore comes back, put Mike Hilton on the outside. I do not care. Like literally anybody would be better than Xavien Howard out there on the edge. Okay. Richard just said Stephon Gilmore's available. Stephon Gilmore's like 40 years old. Not really, but no. Stephon Gilmore is not the answer. He doesn't want to be here anyway. Okay. Like he left. Okay. He's 35 years old. Okay. Look, I get it with, the Stephon Gilmore stuff, was really good here. He's won a, defensive player of the year and all that kind of stuff. It's great. It's great. But Stephon Gilmore is not the answer. I've seen multiple people throw that out. And every time I see it, no. Stephon Gilmore, absolutely not. Okay. Oh man. Stephon Gilmore. Jeez. Anyway, I'm just waiting on the notification that Xavien Howard has been released. Because it feels like we're going to get that at some point during the year. Maybe they're going to hold on to him until Jalen Jones comes back and is off of IR. But as soon as he's back, like he has to be the starter. As soon as this hamstring thing is fixed up and he's ready to go, he may be coming off this week. I don't know if he was on the 4-week IR or not. I hope so. I hope so. Week 6 is the earliest that he can come off. So one more game, and then we'll see if he comes off IR or not. It's just bad out there on the edge, and there's really no other way for me to say it. So I'm going to move on. Speaking of the edge, Bernard Raymond sucked yesterday. No, no way around it. I thought that with Matt Gonzalez out, I thought I would be focused on the right side of the offensive line. Because Bernard Raymond, to his credit, really good the first 3 weeks, had a really good year last year, earned himself a new contract, which I'm going to get to here in a second. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be looking at the right side of the offensive line. How does, what's his name, who played right guard for the Colts yesterday? It wasn't Danny Pinter. He's the backup center. It's, what's his name? Dalton Tucker. How is Dalton Tucker going to hold up with Matt Gonzalez out? Braden Smith's over there as well. He's just not as good of a tackle as Bernard Raymond. So all right, the right side of the offensive line, that is what needs to be watched. And then Bernard Raymond was like, nah, Jonathan, you're watching me all game because I'm going to play terribly. He struggled. And this is a guy that the Colts committed $100 million to over the next 4 years in this past offseason with an extension. When you get extended like that, you can't have days like that. You can't play. And he didn't earn his money at all. Jared Verse ran through his face on multiple occasions. Okay. He got called for holding. It's not good from Bernard Raymond. And look, it's one game. All right. And, you can't base everything off of one game. But on a day where Daniel Jones was going to have to be worried about the right side of the offensive line because Matt Gonzalez, who's been really good this year, because Matt Gonzalez wasn't in, you have to hold up on your side. It's truly that simple. And every time he had to block Jared Verse, something bad happened. Seriously, without fail, Jared Verse lined up and just ran through his face. I mean, seriously, it was like if I was Bernard Raymond, I would be incredibly embarrassed by what happened in that game. Speaking of being embarrassed, Indiana was almost embarrassed on the road against Iowa. And I need to slow my roll on Indiana. I said after they beat Illinois 63-10. Still can't believe that they did that, by the way. I said that they'd be able to go on the road to Penn State, not Oregon. I said that they'd be able to go on the road to Penn State and give them a game, right? Probably lose, but they wouldn't get embarrassed like they did on the road last year against both Notre Dame and Ohio State. And, that's just not true. they're going to go 10-2, and they're going to get their doors blown off when they go on the road to play Oregon. And that's not really an indictment because everyone's probably going to get their doors blown off when they go on the road to play Oregon. But they're probably going to get trounced when they go on the road to play against Penn State as well. And that'll be the win that saves James Franklin's job. Everyone will point and be like, hey, there's a win over a top 10 team, James. Here's your extension, or, whatever it winds up being. So they're going to go 10-2. That game against Iowa just didn't inspire much confidence. They really struggled from the jump. Fernando Mendoza wasn't spectacular. He obviously ends up throwing the game-winning touchdown pass. But I think that was more of Iowa calling a blitz at the wrong time and Elijah Surratt being really fast. Okay? He wasn't, overwhelmingly great. I think he ended up being 13 of 23. I don't even want to look at what the Heisman odds are as of today because that they dropped, especially after Dante Moore goes on the road to Penn State and picks up a win and plays really well in that win. Certainly much better than what Fernando Mendoza looked like yesterday. Yeah. 13 of 23, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He did run the ball pretty well. I know that he, took a big loss there to close the game, just to run out the clock, but just not a good day from Fernando Mendoza. They also didn't run the ball super great. Once again, I know that these numbers are skewed a little bit because Fernando Mendoza just ran backwards to close the game. But Roman Hemby, 15 carries for 86 yards. Keon Black, 11 carries for 38 yards. It wasn't as dominant of a performance from Indiana that I think everyone expected. I think you could make a real argument that if Mark Gronowski, starting quarterback for Iowa, if he doesn't get hurt, there's a real chance that Iowa beats them. 1,000%, that was possible. So offensively, it just wasn't very impressive. The defense, though, continues to be really good, but it's Iowa. They gave up more points to Iowa than they did Illinois, which doesn't make a ton of sense. Giving up 13 to Iowa, what are they going to do when they play Oregon in 2 weeks? What are they going to do when they go play Penn State? But the run defense continues to be really stout, right? 31 carries for only 92 yards for Iowa. Pass defense wasn't great when Mark Gronowski was in there, 19 of 25, just very efficient. No big plays, though. So I guess that's a good thing. But I don't know, just a very underwhelming performance for an Indiana team that had some real momentum. A team that, like I said, I thought was better than they were last year. That actually may not be the case. Gritty making a really good point. No one's going to beat Oregon except for Ohio State. Ohio State's really, really good. Ohio State's going to play Oregon in the Big Ten title game, and it wouldn't surprise me if Ohio State also played Oregon in the national title game. That's how good those two teams are. But Indiana, like I said, 10-2, 1,000% is where they're headed, and that's not a bad thing. Another 10-2 season in Indiana, let's go. Be excited about that, right? So, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with Indiana football. The Colts are going to be fine. I get it. The loss yesterday sucks. Okay, the A.D. Mitchell dropping the football before crossing the goal line sucks. The hold sucks. Xavien Howard sucks. But Sunday, they're back home, and they're going to play the Raiders. It's a very winnable game. And then they're going to play the Cardinals at home. Another very winnable game. If they win both, we're going to look up. They're going to be 5-1. And we're very quickly going to forget about this loss to the Rams. Okay, the only way that we remember this loss is if it ends up costing them the division because they finish, 10-7. We're gonna be they could have been 10-6, or 11-6, and that could be the difference. We'll end up seeing what happens. But when we come back here in about 4 minutes, the 4 reasons why the Colts lost, I'll tell you why.
Football season is heating up on Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the action this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code ROAM and get $50 in bonus credit instantly in lineups when you play $5. That's code ROAM on Prize Picks to get $50 in bonus credit instantly in lineups when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 bonus credit in lineups just for playing. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Warning, the national debt is spiraling out of control. Trade wars are causing record volatility, and inflation could make a devastating comeback. Will you sit on the sidelines and wait, or will you take action today to help protect your hard-earned retirement savings? And what if you could do it tax and penalty-free? Find out more by requesting your free 2025 gold and silver kit from the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco. Plus, you could get an unlimited instant match on bonus silver if you qualify. Call 855-969-GOLD to learn more. That's 855-969-GOLD. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show, hour number 2. Getting underway here. Today's show is sponsored by Holiday World and Splashin' Safari. They've got some awesome awesome Halloween themed stuff going on right now. Visit them during their Happy Halloween weekends and experience Kitty's 3D Candy Farm, the Dinosaur Corn Maze, and all of your favorite rides. Once again, today's show is sponsored by Holiday World. Get down there and make some memories. Thank you for tuning into the show, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And of course, 14:30 a.m. as well. Colts lose a really tough game yesterday. I would equate the loss. I would say that the Colts lost for 4 different reasons. One of them obviously being A.D. Mitchell and, everything that he did yesterday to help the Colts lose that football game. But I want to start with the defense that I thought wasn't very good. Gave up 27 points, played some of the worst 2-minute defense I've ever seen. The thing about this Colts defense is I don't find them to be very consistent from down to down. It's the reality of it. And I think the majority of people would agree with that. See Puka Nacua, 13 receptions for 170 yards. Matthew Stafford throwing the football for a bajillion yards. I understand that 88 of them came off of one pass, but still, like that guy just kind of did whatever he wanted. 375 yards passing. Even if you take the 88-yard reception off the board, he's still flirting with 300. Once again, Kyron Williams, 6 yards a carry. On a down-to-down basis, I don't think that this Colts defense is very good. It's just how I feel about it, right? And because of that, the defense has to capitalize on opportunities. Zaire Franklin dropped an interception on the Rams' first drive. That can't happen. Not with this defense. Not when you have, the walking target, Xavien Howard, on your team. Not when you can't stop the run. Like, you have to take advantage of those opportunities to force turnovers. And the Colts didn't yesterday. Zaire Franklin dropped an interception on the Rams' opening drive. Xavien Howard dropped an interception on the Rams' first drive in the second half. Everyone wants to point at A.D. Mitchell. I'm just going to pose a question, though. What if I said that the difference in the game yesterday was when Cameron Curl, the safety for the Rams, when he had 2 opportunities to intercept Daniel Jones, he came down with both of them. And when the Colts had 2 opportunities to intercept Matthew Stafford, they didn't. That game is so different. If Zaire Franklin and Xavien Howard both catch footballs that hit them in the hands, you cannot miss those opportunities. Those plays have to be made because this Colts defense on a down-to-down basis lacks consistency. So I thought those 2 drops were very important in terms of the Colts losing that game. I also thought that the Colts 2-minute defense was terrible. Like their 2-minute defense to close the first half was awful. The Colts are up. They're up 10-6. And then Matthew Stafford and the Rams just cruise down the field and they score a touchdown. It was so easy. And then their 2-minute defense in the fourth quarter couldn't have been any worse. Yes, Adonai Mitchell made a grave mistake dropping the football before crossing the goal line, and he made another one committing the holding penalty on the big Jonathan Taylor run. But Lou Anarumo and this defense was disorganized, and the actual biggest play of the game, the 88-yard touchdown reception for Tutu Atwell that ended up giving the Rams the 27-20 victory, the Colts only had 10 players on the field. So yes, A.D. Mitchell dropped the football, but how about we get all 11 of our defenders out on the field in one of the biggest spots of the game? There was, things like that cannot happen. And while yes, the A.D. Mitchell plays are terrible, and they did play a rather large role in the Colts losing the football game. While those things are true, the defense did not help the Colts out very much. 10 guys on the field. Jeez, it's just terrible. Obviously, speaking of A.D. Mitchell, his 2 mistakes, pretty grave. Okay, the fumble and the hold, like the dude just lacks maturity. It was the most Adonai Mitchell play ever yesterday. Okay, like he makes an incredible catch. Contested, one hand, throws the guy off, runs about 5 yards, spins out of a tackle, and then he runs away from everybody. Just runs away because it runs like a 4-2 or 4-3, whatever it is. Just, gone down the sideline. And then for some reason, I don't know why, he switches hands with the football. I don't know why he reached the ball out. Just high and tight. Run it, 4 points of contact, right? Yeah, hand, forearm, chest, bicep. Yeah, 4 points of contact. Run it across the goal line, and then celebrate your first career NFL touchdown. Because that's what it would have been. But no, he doesn't do that. He drops the football, and he costs the Colts 6 points. Okay? And that just can't happen. Okay? It's why he doesn't play. Okay? And you can see why they want him to get the football. You can see why he was on the field for 54 snaps yesterday. Because the first 74 yards of that play are just insane. One-handed catch, defender draped all over him, keeps his feet, spins out of a tackle, gone. It's so clear why they want him to play look, they're not going to cut him. I know some people think that they should, but that's insane. And you just can't make that mistake. You can't. It's unacceptable in every way, shape, and form. And you have to learn from other people's mistakes. You have to. Yes, very important to learn from your own mistakes. But do you know what's better than learning from your own mistakes? Learning from someone else's. I have an older brother. It's fantastic. Growing up, he's 14 months older than me. His birthday's on Sunday. And so growing up, I could just sit back, see him do something, and say, oh, mom and dad didn't like that. I should probably not do it. And you would have thought that Adonai Mitchell learned from Jonathan Taylor's mistake last year. And he clearly didn't. And that's going to potentially cost the Colts a win. Because what I think people don't understand is if the Colts score there, not everything that happens after remains the same. The Rams go very differently about their next drive. Okay, the Colts go very differently about their remaining drives. Look, even if A.D. Mitchell scores there, you know what would have happened after that? We would have gotten just an incredibly heavy dose of let's throw the football to Puka Nacua because Xavien Howard's defending him. And I don't think that the Colts would have had an answer for that. Xavien Howard can't cover me, yet alone Puka Nacua. 13 receptions for 170 yards and a touchdown. And every Puka Nacua reception felt like it came against Xavien Howard. The Colts have to put someone else out there. I don't know how you walk into week 5 at home against the Raiders. I don't know how you walk into that game and say, Xavien Howard, you are our starting corner once again. I don't know how you do it. You've got to put Mekhi Blackman out there or Mike Hilton, someone, literally anybody. Now, Jalen Jones, this is another thing that we've 1,000% learned. Jalen Jones has to get the starting. He has to be the starter when he comes off IR. That absolutely has to happen. Maybe they're going to put up with Xavien Howard one more week because they don't feel like there's anybody on waivers that's better than him. I find that hard to believe. That's how bad Xavien Howard has been. But when Jalen Jones comes back off IR, he's got to be the starter. He can come back as early as week 6. And there's got to be part of the Colts that wishes that they'd held on to Juju Brents, right? I mean, seriously, like at this point, I think anyone would be better than Xavien Howard, right? And I know Juju Brents struggled with injuries and all those things, but he was a second-round pick, and he's not 32 years old. I mean, seriously, I part of me wishes, like, why didn't you hold on to Juju Brents? because certainly he could be better than what Xavien Howard has been so far to start this season. Like that to me was the Colts' biggest issue on Sunday. Everyone's going to point to A.D. Mitchell and all of his issues, but Xavien Howard, I thought, just had just as big, if not a bigger impact on the Colts losing that game as A.D. Mitchell did. Okay. Another thing that played into why the Colts lost that game, Daniel Jones threw 2 interceptions. I'm not going to sit here and say that Daniel Jones played badly because I don't think that would be accurate, but it was definitely by far his worst game as a Colt. Then again, to be fair, those first 3 games were awesome. Okay, seriously. So you can't throw 2 interceptions and fumble the football through the back of the end zone and commit 11 penalties and have Xavien Howard as one of your starting corners and expect to win the game. Seriously. Like that's just the simple reality of it. The 2 Daniel Jones interceptions were terrible. He threw one on the Colts drive, never had a chance. A.D. Mitchell's running a post, and he's open. Like, he's got like 7 yards of separation. Just like lay it out there, and it's a huge play. And Daniel Jones underthrows it and leaves it behind A.D. Mitchell by like 5 yards. I mean, it's like watching Tua throw the football. Like, that's how underthrown it was, right? Like A.D. Mitchell didn't even have a chance to make a play. That's how poorly thrown it was. And so, like, that can't happen. There's 1 turnover from Daniel Jones. Then, with a minute left, he throws one into double coverage to Michael Pittman Jr. when the Colts had a chance to move the ball and tie the game. And it wasn't at a point where the Colts had to be like uber desperate either. There was a minute left, and they had all of their timeouts. Shane Steichen called the play, so it is partially on him. But Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones got too aggressive too quickly. If you go back and you watch the replay, Jonathan Taylor is just like hanging out 5 yards downfield with no one in sight. Like, flip it to him, let him run and pick up 10 or 15 yards. Or, it's Jonathan Taylor. Who knows? Maybe he breaks one. Right? Flip it to him, let him, pick up some yards. And then guess what? Call one of your 3 timeouts. You had all of them left and available. Just poor decision-making from Daniel Jones on that throw. And, of course, the first one just underthrew it. No way around it. And it's hard to win games when all of these mistakes compound. Your quarterback threw 2 interceptions. Your wide receiver dropped a walk-in touchdown, fumbles it through the back of the end zone, and you commit 11 penalties for 88 yards. It's just way too many mistakes. And then you compare that to the Rams, who definitely gave the Colts opportunities to make plays. As I mentioned earlier, the Colts dropped not 1, but 2 interceptions. Okay, the Rams committed 4 less penalties for 25 less yards, and they turned the football over 2 less times. Victory favors the team that makes the fewest amount of mistakes. And the Rams simply made fewer mistakes than the Colts did yesterday. And this Colts team is still good. This Colts team, I think, is still the best team in their division. I know that the Jacksonville Jaguars are 3-1, and everyone likes the Jags. I know I do because I bet them over 7.5 wins on the year. But if you've watched Jacksonville play, then you're fully aware of the struggles that Trevor Lawrence has had this year, right? And to their credit, they won yesterday 26-21, but Trevor Lawrence was a game manager. Like, that's just the very simple reality of it. 21-31, 174 yards, and 1 passing touchdown. He did have 1 awesome drive, though, where he was like 8 for 8 and was like really slinging it. But anyway, the Jags are not better than the Colts. I can say that with full confidence as I've watched every Jacksonville game and I've watched every Colts game. Okay, they are not better than the Indianapolis Colts. The thing, though, is The Colts aren't going to beat Jacksonville if they turn it over 3 times and commit that many penalties. Okay, they aren't that good. You know who could have won that game yesterday? The Chiefs or the Bills, because they have, really good players and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and those guys. And while the Colts are a good team, and while this is a good roster, they don't have enough collective talent to overcome that many mistakes. Too many penalties, too many turnovers. You're not winning when you do those things. You're also not winning when your best player only gets 6 touches in the first half. Jonathan Taylor didn't touch the football enough. More on that in 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Colts lose yesterday. A.D. Mitchell's just getting drug all over the place. Xavien Howard getting drug right behind him, right? It is, a local holiday here in Indianapolis. It is Blame A.D. Mitchell Day. Okay? That's what it appears to be. I am not participating in the holiday. While I do think that A.D. Mitchell's 2 mistakes were very costly for the Colts, I also believe that there were like 150 plays yesterday, and 2 plays don't determine the outcome of any game. And I do think that the Colts would have been better off if Jonathan Taylor had touched the football more than 22 times. Yesterday should have been a 30 or more touch day for Jonathan Taylor. Only 17 carries. He did have 5 receptions, but 16 of those touches came in the second half. Jonathan Taylor cannot have a mere 6 touches in a half. It's not enough. The first half, he touched the football 6 times for 35 yards, and that's just not enough for the best player on your team. I understand that Shane Steichen believes in the idea of throwing to get ahead and then running the football to win. Okay? Totally understand that. I think there are a lot of teams in the NFL who follow that philosophy. The NFL is a passing league. Everyone wants to throw the football. All of the analytics say that you got to throw the football. And everyone says that you got to have a good quarterback and all those things. And all those things are probably true. But Jonathan Taylor is your best player. Jonathan Taylor is like, it's like having Kevin Durant on your NBA team. Okay? The NBA is a 3-point shooting and layups league. That's the reality of it. All the analytics tell teams, hey, man, the mid-range jump shot is stupid. But if you have Kevin Durant, then you should probably shoot more mid-range jumpers because you have Kevin freaking Durant. The Colts, it's the same thing. Yes, Shane Steichen, your philosophy is to throw the football to get ahead. But you have Jonathan Taylor. Running the football should be the exact same thing for the Colts. Yes, it's a passing league. Yes, Shane Steichen has his philosophies. And those philosophies got you to 3-0. But when you have Jonathan Taylor, the running back, playing better than any other running back in the NFL right now, you make an exception. You change your philosophy when you have Jonathan Taylor on your football team. Just like the Eagles did last year. All of a sudden, they went from handing Miles Sanders the football to Saquon Barkley. And they were like, you know what we should do? We should run the football more. And they did. It's like the Ravens when they added Derrick Henry. It's like, hey, it's a lot of Lamar scrambling around and running and doing all those things. Okay? But when you add Derrick Henry, you do more traditional handoffs. And for some reason, like that just doesn't seem to click every game with Shane Steichen. To his credit, they did do a much better job in the second half of getting him involved, right? 16 total touches between receptions and carries. And this is why this possession that I'm about to talk about right here, this possession is why you give Jonathan Taylor the football. The Colts didn't score in the third quarter. On the Colts' first possession in the fourth quarter, they scored a touchdown. You know why? Because they ran Jonathan Taylor 3 times in a row, and they picked up 20 yards on those 3 carries. And all of a sudden, this, offense that had no rhythm, this offense that looked like me dancing at a wedding, just no rhythm, all over the place, flustered. I never know what to do with my hands. That's what the Colts offense looked like in that third quarter. And all of a sudden, they run Jonathan Taylor 3 times, and the rhythm of the offense was restored. And they scored a few plays later. In fact, the football didn't touch the ground again on that drive for the Colts. Daniel Jones completed his next 5 pass attempts on that drive, including a touchdown pass to Michael Pittman Jr. And Jonathan Taylor had 2 more carries for 8 yards. Running the football successfully for the Colts, that is what they do best, first and foremost. Even with Matt Gonsalves out, they still run the football incredibly well. And it's their reset button. Jonathan Taylor's the best player on your offense. Sorry for all the NBA references in this segment, but look, for the Pacers last year, when the offense wasn't going well, and they went, this didn't happen very often, but if they went through like a drought where they couldn't make a shot, what did they go to? Some sort of action that involved Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam. Why? Because they were the 2 best players on the Pacers team last year. It's the same thing for the Colts. When you're not scoring, you have to go back to Jonathan Taylor, which they eventually did. Just took them too long to do it. When I played baseball, I had a thing called a focal point at every stadium. If I ever got flustered, like an umpire calls a strike on a fastball a foot off the plate, or I swing it like a curveball that bounces 6 inches in front of the plate, whatever it is. If something flustered me, I would step out of the box. I would, get my sign or whatever from my coach. I'd look at the top of the left field foul pole, take a deep breath, and it would just help me reset myself. When the Colts offense is flustered like they were after that grave A.D. Mitchell mistake, Jonathan Taylor should have immediately gotten a ton of carries, because he is the guy who resets the offense for the Colts. He is the guy who can bring the offense back to center. They got to him too late in the game yesterday. He should have been a bigger part of the offense earlier than he was. A.D. Mitchell is being drugged through the ringer right now. He should be cut. No, he shouldn't. A.D. Mitchell should not be cut. I get it. He made 2 bad mistakes yesterday. It's the reality of it. He made 2 really bad mistakes, and they lost. With that being said, he shouldn't be cut. The kid's just too talented to be cut in his second year in the NFL. Here is Shane Steichen, Colts head coach, talking about all of the mistakes that A.D. Mitchell made yesterday.
Shane, what did you think of the play with A.D. Mitchell, and I guess what did he tell you? How do you explain that turnover?
Yeah, it's hard to explain in that situation, but we got a lot of faith in AD, and this is a bump in the road for him, and he's going to bounce back. And we got a lot of confidence in his abilities.
After JT made the mistake last year, is this something he emphasized?
Yeah, it's a point of emphasis, and I got to do a better job of emphasizing it more. It starts with me.
You also had the holding call on JT's run was really costly too. Just what did you see there?
Yeah, I didn't see the penalty, but they called it. We'll go back and look at it. And again, all those things start with me.
Through his first 2 years, AD's had some ups and downs. I guess how do you help him through this, because this is tough?
Yeah, it's all part of his process and his journey. Everyone's journey is different. He's got a lot of ability in his body, and so we got to get through it this week and get ready to go for Vegas next week.
Shea Steichen right there talking about the Indianapolis Colts and the grave mistake that Adonai Mitchell made in that game. Both of them. The hold, not quite as crushing as dropping the football before crossing the goal line on what would have been a sick touchdown, but there were 150 plays in that game. Other guys made mistakes. The Colts played an incredibly sloppy game yesterday. And sadly, the sloppiest part of it was A.D. Mitchell dropping the football. but he is not the sole reason why the Colts lost that game. Daniel Jones said it so well after the game. Here he is talking about Adonai Mitchell's fumble.
Yeah, I mean, I think first, he made a heck of a catch on that play to get to the ball there. Incredible catch. Yeah, I mean, tough play for sure. After such a tremendous effort, and just lost the ball there at the end. But feel for him. I know he hurts with that, but he'll bounce back. And he's a hardworking guy. He's in there every day grinding. So we all have a lot of faith in AD, and I'll continue to have a ton of faith in AD. And one play doesn't define any ball game. We didn't do enough today to win the game.
Daniel Jones right there saying it exactly right. Like one play never defines a ball game. There were like 150 plays ran yesterday. It's not 150. It's probably closer to like 100. But there were 100 plays ran yesterday. And obviously dropping the football and the hold, obviously they had an impact on the outcome of the game. But that's not the sole reason why they lost. AD Mitchell should not be cut. He is a second-year player who, first and foremost, has clearly gotten better from last year. His first reception, he laid out for. He wouldn't have done that last year. His second reception was crazy. Look at the first 74 yards of that play. He has a defender draped all over him, and he makes a one-handed catch with that defender draped all over him, breaks the tackle, runs for 5 yards, gets wrapped up again, spins out of it, and then it's like, oh, by the way, I run a 4.3, so you're just not going to catch me. And he just left everybody. Simple as that. And then, his third grab later was really nice. Oh, and by the way, he should have had a big chunk play to start the game, but Daniel Jones left it short and 5 yards to the left of where AD Mitchell was running. He's gotten better. Obviously not perfect. Obviously, he needs to mature and all those things. I do think he's going to mature from this, though, because he can't lie to himself about the play. Last year, he made a grave mistake. The Colts are playing the Broncos, and they run that incredibly dumb trick play where, they throw it to AD Mitchell, and they're going to have him throw it all the way back across the field to Anthony Richardson, where there was a screen set up. And AD Mitchell takes forever to grab the laces and throw it back. And Nick Bonito of the Broncos intercepts the pass, and he, runs it back for a touchdown. And everyone was upset. And, AD Mitchell's being talked to after the game, and he just gives the most incredible answer ever. He says, I did my job. And when you make that mistake, very easily can you shift the blame. Coach Steichen called the play. I was just trying to do my job. Very easy to say that after that mistake. But yesterday, you cannot lie to yourself after dropping the football like that. It is impossible. There isn't one. There is no excuse for that. Okay? Like, they could have covered the football in fish grease, and it still wouldn't have been an excuse. This is something that he can actually learn from. So while I do not think that AD Mitchell should be cut, I do absolutely think that Alec Pierce needs to be extended. Because while I do think that AD Mitchell will learn from this, he clearly didn't learn from Jonathan Taylor doing it last year. And so you can't count on it. So Alec Pierce, 1,000%, has to be extended. And what's so interesting is AD Mitchell had an opportunity yesterday to show that they didn't need to extend him. I'll be honest, I didn't think that they missed Alec Pierce in terms of what he brings. Like the opportunities for contested catches from the Colts, most of them, not all of them, most of them were made. AD Mitchell had one of them. Okay, Daniel Jones was still very efficient even without Alec Pierce, 24 of 33. The two interceptions that Daniel Jones threw would not have been fixed by targeting Alec Pierce. Okay, the only difference is Alec Pierce wouldn't have dropped the football before crossing the goal line. But I will also add, based off of what we've seen from Alec Pierce, he probably catches that football, but he's probably not spinning out of a tackle and dusting everybody else, even though he is blazing fast. He's probably not spinning out of that tackle, though, and giving himself a chance to score on that play. That's the difference, and that's why A.D. Mitchell isn't going to be cut. He's simply too talented to be cut. But he hasn't proven that he's grown up. That's problematic. And because of that, they should extend Alec Pierce. Okay? Here's the last thing that I'd like to say about A.D. Mitchell, and then we can get to some of the other suckage that the Indianapolis Colts displayed yesterday. Quentin Johnston, starting wide receiver for the Chargers. He was a first-round pick, taken 22nd overall 3 drafts ago. He had a drop problem his first 2 years in the NFL. Dropped everything. I mean, it was terrible. It's like watching a toddler try to catch anything. And it was really problematic, and Charger fans were rightfully very upset, very upset. You know, because it's like, oh, we drafted a guy in the first round who can't catch. Now it's year 3, and Quentin Johnston is pacing. He's probably not going to hit these numbers, but he's pacing for 90 receptions and 17 touchdowns. He's got 22 receptions and 4 touchdowns through 4 games for the 3-1 Los Angeles Chargers. Players grow up, and they get better. It happens. You don't cut a guy as talented as A.D. Mitchell this early because he made that mistake on Sunday. You do cut Xavien Howard, though, because he's been around for a minute, and it's just absolutely clear that he's not an NFL corner anymore. More on that in 4 minutes.
fits in today's sports world. It's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X __ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Now, the Colts, 3-1, still in a really good spot, tied with the Jacksonville Jaguars atop the AFC South. Really looks like it's about those two teams. It's just the reality of it. The Titans are awful. Cam Ward said it great yesterday. He's just like, we're not good at football. He just said it point blank. And and he's 1,000% right about that. They're terrible. They're 0-4. The Texans finally get a win. They shut out the Titans to improve to 1-3. So it kind of feels, or no feels. It is the Jags and the Colts. And, those games, like they don't play each other until December. So all these games in between are going to be really big. And I mentioned this last week. This is the biggest 4-game stretch for the Indianapolis Colts all season. I think it's their toughest stretch on top of it. So yesterday they go on the road to LA. Obviously, that was the first game in this tough stretch. And then they get the Raiders at home, who I know are 1-3, but very easily could be 2-2, right? Playing against, they somehow lost to the Bears yesterday. And then they play the Cardinals, the Colts. They play the Cardinals at home, another good football team. And then they're at the Chargers, another team that's 3-1. Maybe the Colts catch a break and Joe Alt isn't playing in that game. He has a high ankle sprain, which a high ankle sprain for a big dude like that, who knows how long it'll kind of take for them to heal up. And then the schedule eases up a little bit at Pittsburgh, very winnable. Atlanta on the road in Germany. Hate that. And then they're at the Chiefs. That'll be a tough game. And then they get Houston, right? And it's back to, some easier games. Houston at home, at Jacksonville, at Seattle's tough. The Niners at home, that's Monday Night Football. And then it's Jacksonville at home, and then they're at Houston again. So big 4-game stretch here. They need to win these next two. They need to beat the Raiders, and they need to beat the Cardinals. Because then you look up and we're 5-1. As long as we don't make dumb mistakes like they did yesterday, then, they'll be fine. And then you compare that to the Jags, right, who are in the middle of a pretty tough 4-game stretch for them right now as well. They're going to play they played the Niners on the road yesterday, gutsy win. They're good. I'm just telling you. And then they're going to play the Chiefs and the Seahawks at home. 2 tough games. And then they get the Rams at home. That game's overseas. Probably a London game because they send Jacksonville to London every year. So, 4 straight tough games for them as well. And so this little 3-week stretch here for both teams is going to be really important in terms of who wins the division. And then obviously they're going to play each other for the first time on December 7th. And then they're going to play each other again here in Indy on December 28th. So thankfully the Colts don't have to go down to Florida early in the year because that's just not a fun thing. Speaking of Florida, Xavien Howard started his career in Miami, and his career is going to end in Indianapolis. Look, like people are calling for A.D. Mitchell to be cut. I think that's a little premature. But Xavien Howard absolutely should be cut. Absolutely. No question about it. He's just not very good. He's not super talented anymore. He doesn't run as well as he used to. It's just problematic. He's just not very good. And this is a really good Colts secondary. Cam Bynum having a strong year. Nick Cross has been awesome. Charvarius Ward's the best player on the defense. Kenny Moore still continues to be one of the best nickels in football. He's hurt right now, but they bring in Mike Hilton, who had a good day yesterday. But they've got one glaring weakness, and his name's Xavien Howard. He was great week 1. Colts are at home, playing against his former Miami Dolphins. Played so well that Tua didn't even throw the football in his direction. Just an incredible day. And everyone's like, oh, Xavien Howard. You know, I can't believe that he didn't play for anyone last year. He had to take the year off because no one wanted him. And in the last 3 weeks, it's like, oh, that's why no one wanted him. He's been a liability, and that is the understatement of the century. He's been a problem in the worst way possible. You know, sometimes guys are like, that dude's a problem, and it's like a compliment. Xavien Howard's been a problem in the worst way possible, and it feels like it just continues to get worse. In the Broncos game, he commits all of these penalties, and then, you know, against the Titans, he commits more penalties, and then yesterday he was like, no more penalties. I'm just going to be bad. And, you know, I don't really know what the Colts were doing. They took Xavien Howard and they put him on Puka Nacua, and they put Charvarius Ward on Devontae Adams. And, like, you see that, and my assumption is, oh, they're just doing what the Patriots used to do against the Colts. You know, like they're going to take, you know, their best corner and put it on their second best receiver. And then they're going to take their second best corner and put it on their best receiver. And then they're going to double. And it doesn't feel like they doubled. Doesn't feel like they doubled Puka Nacua at all. I feel like they're just like, all right, good luck out there, Xavien, against, you know, one of the 5 best receivers in football. I mean, I don't know if you caught the graphic yesterday, but Puka Nacua went into that game and he led the NFL and everything. Receiving yards, he was second in targets. It just was, you know, led the league in receptions, and he definitely leads the league in receptions and yards after yesterday. 13 receptions for 170 yards and a touchdown. Jeez Louise. And Xavien Howard was the reason for a lot of that. Here were his numbers in coverage according to PFF. And I'll be honest, I think PFF's wrong. I thought his day was worse than this. Xavien Howard gave up 7 receptions on 9 targets. So that is a 78% completion percentage. He allowed 112 receiving yards and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford had a passer rating of 155.6 when throwing the ball at Xavien Howard. For reference, a perfect passer rating is 158.3. So a near perfect day for Matthew Stafford when throwing the football at Xavien Howard. And the Rams threw the football at him whenever they needed a play. Every chance they got, they were like, we're throwing the football towards Xavien Howard's side of the field. And what's so frustrating about all of this is we knew this was going to happen. And if I can see something coming from a mile away, I talked about this all week last week. If I can see this coming from a mile away, then I know that Lou Anarumo and Shane Steichen and the rest of that Colts staff 1,000% see it coming. And it's frustrating that it didn't seem like they had any sort of backup plan. Because like whatever their plan was clearly didn't work. I don't know if they changed their plan. Didn't feel like they did. They never moved Charvarius Ward to follow Puka. Like that might have been worth trying. I get that at that point, then you're going to just throw the football to Devontae Adams. But like receivers are different, you know, and maybe that's why they had Xavien Howard on Puka Nacua. I don't know. But what I do know is that it didn't work, and I didn't feel like the Colts had any sort of way to respond to what the Rams were doing. And so Xavien Howard, he needs to be gone. When Jalen Jones comes back off IR, week 6, by the way, is the soonest that he can return. As soon as he returns from IR, I mean, like he has to be the starter over Xavien Howard. I haven't seen that they cut him yet. We'll see if they end up doing it or not, but I don't know. Bernard Raymond wasn't very good either. Going into the game, I was fully prepared to be focused on the right side of the offensive line, considering that Matt Gonsalves did not play. Okay, he didn't. And so I was like, all right, like no right guard, Braden Smith, and not as good of a tackle as Bernard Raymond. Like, got to be wary of what the right side of the offensive line looks like. And then Bernard Raymond was like, no, you're going to pay attention to me, especially when Jared Verse is the guy that, he has to block, because Jared Verse he ran through his face, just bull rushed him, beat him with power, beat him with speed, just really dominated Bernard Raymond on a lot of those snaps. And you can't have that from an offensive tackle that the Colts committed $100 million to this offseason. Like that was a game where you prove why they gave you that much money. Seriously. Like that's the opportunity to be like, yeah, like this is why I'm worth $100 million. Yeah, our right guard's out. You don't have to worry about the left side because you got Quentin Nelson and me, and we're just going to completely lock down this side. And that did not happen. That Rams front is awesome. It's one of the best in the NFL between Byron Young and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. It's Kobe Turner's a monster in the middle. Like it is a great front, one of the best in the NFL. But this Colts offensive line was supposed to be one of the best in the NFL. And if it had been a day where like Danny or Dalton Tucker really struggled at right guard, then I could have walked in and be like, okay, like that makes sense. Backups in. But when your left tackle gets beaten as badly as he did, as consistently as he did yesterday, that is a cause for concern. That's going to do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back again tomorrow from 10 to noon. Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts will join me at 11. I'm going to try to be a little more positive tomorrow. Didn't get to talk about Laiatu Latu much today, who was really good. I want to go through Daniel Jones's performance. Adetomiwa Adebawore played really well. So a little bit more on those guys tomorrow. And, of course, Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts. Thank you again for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way starting at noon.